Before we install the LiBCM PCB in the car, we need to make a few connections. The first one is going to be the MCM-E connector. And so we're going to strip off just about 1/4 inch. It's not actually that much. This will look different depending on which charger you have. This is for the faster charger. The standard charger looks a little bit different, but regardless, these two are going to be empty. And so you're going to put the red into the MCM-E positive. And when you look down here, you shouldn't be able to see any copper. So this is probably a little bit long. So I'm going to take and just cut well away from this PCB. I'm going to cut just a little bit off the end of this just so we minimize the chance of getting any shorts. And I can see that I'll probably need to do that with the negative as well. And so we'll go ahead and stick our red into MCM-E positive. And we're going to take the screwdriver that comes with this kit, which is the right width, and we'll use that to tighten these screws. You don't need to push down too hard. If you do want to push down, make sure you put a finger underneath this to support it so that you're not severely flexing the PCB. For the white, we'll hook that up to MCM-E negative. And we need to be really sure that there are no stray wires coming out of here because this is high voltage. And even though this is fused, you don't want to have a short there. And now we'll go ahead and install the cover. We need to make sure this AC input is outside of the case. The MCM-E is outside. These need to actually pull down. These need to go up, and then this guy's going to have to weave through. This is the position we need to be in to get this cover installed. And if the cover doesn't install, the two most likely candidates are that this is interfering with the case or that this has slid up and is interfering with the case. And now we're going to take the Allen wrench that's included with this kit and we're going to screw this screw in all the way. And as we're screwing it in, we need to make sure that everything is fitting here because if it's flexing, it's going to flex the PCB, which we don't want to do. Once we've verified that all of the cables are in the right spot and there's no interference, we're going to take and put these red rubber washers back on. And then we're going to put a stainless steel washer on. And then we're going to put a nut on. And we're going to basically hand tighten it. These do not need to be tightened with a tool. And we'll repeat that on the other 3 posts here. All right, so now this is ready to install in the car. Before we install the PCB, we need to reroute the HVDC positive cable. And so this cable is going to come through and it's going to go between the MCM and the battery. And it's going to go below this cable right there. Next, we're going to install the modified IMA wire harness. Now we're going to take the BCM connector and just kind of push it off to the side here. So before we install our PCB, we need to plug in the 49 through 60 connector. And before we put it in, we need to take and pull this cable and just pick it up out of the way. It's not hooked up to anything yet, so it doesn't matter if it touches anywhere. And we're going to put these 4 studs into these 4 holes, just like we did previously when we were checking our fitment. Before you install the nuts, make sure that the temperature cable here is not crushed. It's attached to the lower tray. You probably can't see it here. And we can go ahead and just plug it in right now. And there's a latch on it. You can see the latch right here. That's going to point up. So we'll just plug that in. So, and now we can attach the washers and nut here. I forgot to connect the lower heater 2-position connector while filming these videos. So if you have the heater, you need to plug in the red-blue connectors here. And now we're going to take a 7mm socket. Notice I don't have any driver on it. You don't need a driver. And we're going to just tighten this until it's snug. It doesn't need to be tight. So now we're going to start routing cables. And so we're going to first move this AC cable up and out of the way. We're going to move our 49 through 60 cable up, and the MCM-E cable will come up, and the 4x20 cable will come up. And we're going to take the LI control cable, which is this 2x3, and we're going to pull it through the hole in the bottom there where the OEM battery tray went. And then we're going to take this high current cable that says 1- upper front. And this cable is going to drop down here. It's going to go between the battery and this ribbon cable so that it's underneath it. And then we need to just temporarily unplug this sensor. You push down on this tab on the top and then you just pull away. It should just come right out. And then we're gonna route between the temperature sensor and the PCB. And then we're gonna plug the temperature sensor back in. So now we're gonna just set this cable off to the side there. So now we're gonna pull the BCM connector and just plug it in. And it's gonna plug in on top of the HVAC cable like that. Next, we're gonna take the 49 through 60 ribbon cable and we're gonna put a single bend in it like that. And the bend should be in the actual ribbon cable, not this actual protective housing. So you might need to slide this housing towards the 49 through 60 bat. And then we're gonna route this underneath the bat side connector. It's gonna go between the middle two connectors, B and C on the MCM. And then we're going to pick it up and just pull it and route it through the MCM. And let's get the twist right now. The twist should be back here so that we have this single 90-degree bend like that, and then it'll come out over there. Next, we're gonna install the 37 through 48 ribbon cable. And then there's no bend in this side. We're gonna just come straight through. And once again, we're gonna go through the middle two, so the B and the C connectors. And we're gonna pull this ribbon cable up through here. And it should go kind of on top of the other one. We can play around with that a little bit more later as we need to. Next, we're gonna route the MCM-E harness. This is gonna run probably through, depending on how you've taped this, it'll probably kind of just run through it. It's gonna also run back through here. And it's gonna swing down. We're gonna stick it between this cable we have attached and then kind of behind and over this guy here. So it kind of comes out there. And then we're gonna plug this into the MCM-E connector down here, like that. Next, we're gonna route this 4x20 cable. So we need to cut these zip ties off. And we're gonna route this to the same spot that the LI control cable came through. And then for now, we'll just kind of leave this in the driver's seat so it's out of the way. Now we're gonna plug in the HVDC here, and kind of just tuck those out of the way. Now we're gonna plug in the temperature sensor harness. And then we are going to hook up our V-pin connectors. These will route in front of all of this, closer to the front of the car. And then we'll plug it into the white and the orange Anderson connectors on the IMA wire harness. Next, we're gonna take and remove the 2- cover and take a 10mm socket and remove this. This is still low voltage right now, so you don't need gloves. We're gonna take the cable that says 2- lower front and 1+ upper front. We're gonna take the 2- lower front and hook it up to 2-. As before, we need to make sure that this flush side goes down. We'll go ahead and tighten this all the way, and then we'll reinstall this cover. Next, we're gonna install the passenger side BMS harness. And so we're gonna plug in this first connector, and we're gonna route over, and then we're gonna plug this one in over here. And now on this part, we need to be really careful that we plug these in correctly, because if you do this wrong, you're gonna damage this circuit board. This one is marked 25 through 36. We're gonna match it up with the 25 through 36 here. So we'll go ahead and just open these up slightly. And we're gonna take this, the tab that's on this points down, which means the ribbon cable needs to have a bend on it here so that it will plug in. We're gonna repeat the same thing for the one that's marked 13 through 24. So we're gonna take a large zip tie now and we're gonna run it through this hole in the IMA bay. And we're gonna just use it to secure these two cables in place for now. We'll cut that off later. Now we're gonna install the 2+ to 3- cable. So we're gonna find the cable that says 2+ lower front to 3- lower middle. At this point, when we connect this cable, this will become high voltage. So we need to put on our high voltage gloves. So we're gonna hook up 3-, and again, the flat side is gonna go down. We'll go ahead and tighten these down. Okay, so now we're gonna install this mica sheet, and it's gonna install on top of these two modules, kind of in the center. Doesn't need to be perfect. And we're gonna take and just tape this on here. Okay, now we're ready to install the middle tray.